Welcome back, Pauper fans. This is Mathonical with round 6, Boros Monarch. Let's jump into it. Our opening hand is great. We've got early cards that we can play. We've got Prophetic Prism to come with our Glinthawks and our Core Skyfisher. No reason to send this one back. Our opponent does have to mulligan and is on Stompy. So our opening hand isn't that great against Stompy, but since they started on a Pit Skulk, that allows us the opportunity to play a Thraben Inspector, and we would absolutely block this. It does make them burn a Vines to get rid of our creature, so we will play another Thraben Inspector and hopefully block again. They do have a Rancor, which means they can now get in unblocked, which is a little unfortunate for us. We're now looking for some kind of removal spell to get rid of that Pit Skulk, but in the meantime, we're just going to draw as many cards as possible to get us to that point. The Glinthawk is able to keep the Quarian Ranger back on defense. Continue to draw as many cards as we can, and we do manage to get that Galvanic Blast. So we get rid of the Pit Skulk, and now we're not worried about unblockable damage coming through anymore. And we're looking to close out the game. It's about as simple as that. We do have to be careful that at some point, we know they have the Rancor in hand. This is going to continue to provide value for them over the course of the game, being able to chip in damage, and they may be able to get some sort of unblockable effects on like another Pit Skulk in the future. Or they might also be able to get the River Boa with all the regeneration, since they have a lot of mana available. We're going to continue to trade our creatures away just to keep the board as clear as possible. The Young Wolf will be a little bit annoying since we'd have to trade twice, but the Journey to Nowhere comes off the top, allows us to deal with that all in one go. And we continue to just play as many cards as possible. At this point, we have a decision between the Battle Screech and the Palace Sentinels, but we go with the Palace Sentinels since it's a clear board. There isn't going to be a better opportunity to play it against Stompy, since things like this come up where they play a Pit Skulk and we wouldn't have been able to block. We do draw a Journey off the top and are able to get rid of it, so we continue to go with our game plan of bouncing artifacts, drawing lots of cards, and trying to put as much pressure on our opponent as possible to win. So, at this point, there isn't really much for us to worry about, and I'm not sure why the replay is taking its time here. Probably some long think was going on during the game. Maybe we can skip ahead. Actually, it's probably where our opponent conceded. Even though it doesn't actually say it, the opponent did concede here. Alright, I guess they had drawn no extra creatures, so we know they're sitting on a Rancor, likely one land and then something else. Could be anything from like a Hunger of the Howl Pack to anything like that, so we do win one game relatively quickly. And that is great for us. We know we have a really good sideboard plan against Stompy, so our chances are looking pretty good so far. So we go with the normal sideboard plan of the Lone Missionaries, the Prismatic Strands, and the Standard Bearers, pulling out basically all of our 4-drops, just leaving the Sen's Enlistment. Battle Screechers are obviously terrible because they're going to very likely bring in the Scattershot Archers. Palace Sentinels, they can go wide or create unblockable creatures and get around that. And then we pull out one land since we've now lowered our curve significantly. 21 lands will be plenty. And let's take a quick look at our opening hand. This is a great hand. It doesn't have our red source just yet, but having the Lone Missionary and the Core Skyfisher to bounce it back for a ton of life gain, plus lots of trading potential, Radiant Fountain for extra life gain, and a Secluded Step that we can cycle at some point if we need to. So we keep this, and we are looking to gain life, trade often, the usual. Prophetic Prism off the top is great. It will give us additional card draws and basically turns our Glinthawk online. And we start off with the Lone Missionary. We no longer need to bounce the Lone Missionary with the Core Skyfisher since they had 2 Pit Skulks. We definitely want to try and trade to prevent as much damage as possible. Turns out they're able to give both their creatures unblockable on the current board state. But we are gaining a ton of life. So we don't feel too bad. Getting the lightning bolt to remove one of them is great for us, and now we have a galvanic blast that we're going to be trying to use to remove the other one as soon as possible. We do not want to keep these effects on the board. Essentially here, we played the Great Furnace to play one of our red removal spells, but as you can tell, this was definitely a mistake. We should have played the Ancient Den and then used Prophetic Prism to turn it into red. We were not playing around Gleeful Sabotage there, so this is something to keep in mind in the future. Now we're basically under a ton of pressure since they have an unblockable creature, and since we have no red mana sources, there isn't really a way to remove it. We played the Glinthawk last turn, just put additional pressure because if we don't draw red, we need to try and win as quick as possible. And getting the Prismatic Strands here, it gives us a way to maybe squeak out a win, since this will give us 2 turns of fog. We fog there on the first turn and get us for as much damage as we can. Drawing more red is not the best plan here, but there's not much we can do. We do play as many creatures as we can, and this will allow us to get in for quite a bit of damage and keep both of our creatures back on blocking with Prismatic Strands to trade. So this is the best plan we can hope for. Since they only attack with the Pit Skulk, we're just going to take it. It'll give us an extra turn next turn. And since our plan is to just Prismatic Strands to stop the damage, we're just going to go in for 6 damage, get them down to 4, and as long as 2 of these creatures survive, we will win the next turn. They have no cards in hand, so their only plan, really, is to draw some sort of effect that will ping down our guys, but since we have the Prismatic Strands, there's nothing they can really do there. And even though we did not draw a red source and we're winning the game with 3 red cards in hand, we do manage to get there. That just goes to show you how powerful Prismatic Strands is against mono-green decks. And with this win, we do make it into the quarterfinals. So I will see you there.